bad news. Gonky, this was yours.
So, Polish pilot, it's called Simon's Killer, was killed, 2 or 3 days ago in a, how do you pronounce it? Aermachi 346. It's one of the contenders for T-45 replacement. And that's him right there. I think that's such a cool looking little jet. But
it's got leading edge flaps, like leading edge devices.
Yeah, there's a trainer version, and there's kind of a FA version, light attack. But yeah, he was flying it. I think they're getting ready for an air show.
Yeah, it says that right there. All events related.
Yeah, and it looked. Yeah, honestly, when I you can watch the crash on the YouTubes, but it just kind of reminded me of how Kus was killed. He just started a split S too low, and didn't have the.
Like at a spin or something, wasn't he?
No, man. I mean, the video I saw, he's basically trying to do a split S, scoop it out the bottom, and it's it didn't have enough. But yeah, unfortunately, he was killed, and he was one of their more experienced pilots, I guess, from the articles I've read. But nickel for him. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family, because I'm sure, man. I mean, the Polish Air Force is probably pretty tight knit group. All air forces are, in generally speaking, but it's very sad when something like that happens, especially in preparation for an air show or something, because that's that's supposed to be a good and fun time, right? Not when they have that event now, it's like, well, it's
always going to be a reminder.
Marked right.
But so you did, I mean, you were a demo pilot, so I mean, is this something, I mean, obviously for the people at home, right, you're not making up maneuvers as you go. So every part of that is scripted. So what usually leads to stuff like this? Usually just.
Yeah, I did, in Kus's, in Jeff's case, I'm sure is just from like the Blues and the Thunderbirds, they go to different airfields. So they have, different elevations and whatnot. And when you're dealing with altimeter settings and all that stuff, and the Hornet has a rad out, but your top at your min altitudes to start those low maneuvers, that altitude number might change, right? So maybe getting that mixed up. We had a couple guys get killed when I was part of the demo team, and basically what that was he just entered one of the maneuvers too fast, and the airplane, when you see all the slow speed stuff that wows people, like you have to be below certain airspeeds for that to happen, because if you try to do like a Cobra and you're doing 500 knots, the jet's not going to do a Cobra. It's going to do a 12G turn, right? Because it's flying, right? It's not mushing off. Right? It's not mushing through the air. So in our the guys that were killed when I was on the team, they entered the maneuver too fast, and the airplane flies differently when you do maneuvers at different speeds. So there's all kinds of reasons, mover, but a lot of the mistakes I think are, as long as it's not a midair, are recoverable if you have the altitude. And unfortunately, because it's aerial demonstration, you're trying to keep it low so the crowd can see, and you don't have that luxury. So but yeah,
I would imagine, I haven't done one, but I mean, there are a lot of parameters that just one small hiccup, airspeed, altitude, G, AOA. I mean, especially go back to G, I remember just BFM, right? I mean, because I went to an air show as a static display, and I was watching the Viper demo guy going, dude, if you have a bad day, you're going to have a bad day.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not on your game in something like that, and again, I'm not speculating to this crash. I'm just saying a demo pilot's life is very controlled, it seems like, but also very much, the margin for error is very small. And so, if you have a bad day, altitude, airspeed, G lock, all that stuff. I mean, and we've seen all of these. I mean, look at the Thunderbird that jumped out right before impact, and wasn't that the field elevation? Wasn't that the whole thing? The altimeter setting versus the field elevation was kind of and it was exactly what you talked about it just wasn't set right. So and we've seen the G locks not in air show, but in practice for an air show. Going from that push pull and stuff like that. So anytime you're doing stuff close to the ground. One thing I wanted to ask you, because I saw this as a comment, and the immediate response from some people is, well, why are we doing air shows anymore? And so, I mean, I don't like knee-jerk reactions when something like that happens, but then people are like, well, we've lost so many people doing air shows. Why do air shows anymore? Gonky, how do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, air shows I think are very important for two reasons, mainly to inspire the next generation.
Yeah.
Because I'm not one of them, but there are a ton of people that, it's like, hey, what sparked your interest to be a pilot? My dad took me to, or my parents took me to an air show. I saw the Thunderbirds fly. I saw the Blue Angels fly. It's very inspiring. It's like taking a young kid to a monster truck event, right? I mean, they love machines, right? And airplanes are, especially fighter jets, in my opinion, are pretty amazing machines. I mean, they go fast, they make tons of noise, like everything little kids just love. I think that's the most important part of air shows. Secondly, I think the demonstration part is important. I mean, I think a lot of companies we'll talk about a little bit here later, but in an effort to sell airplanes.
I mean, yeah, that's the Paris Air Show,
100%.
Farnborough, like all that's
right.
Like how many times have you heard, Boeing just made an order of 300 airplanes for, after the air show or whatever.
Right.
It is.
Exactly. So, it is money making for these, these aerospace giants. So I would argue that air shows, they can be safe. And I think they generally are pretty safe. The companies like the Boeing guys that are doing like the F-15EX roadshow.
Oh yeah, we got that video coming up.
Right. Those guys, I mean, that's their thing. That's their baby.
Yeah.
I'd ride in the back, no problems, have no heartburn. To be honest, I think the way the Navy does the demo is a little bit, there's a lot more rope that you can hang yourself, because so in the Air Force, to be a demo pilot, if you're accepted, say F-16 demo, that becomes your job, right, Mover?
Oh yeah, it's your whole.
That's your
whole
deal.
job.
And how long is that tour?
I don't know. I mean, we'd have to get rain on probably
a couple years,
yeah,
2 years
at least. Yeah.
Right. But that's all they do. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a rag IP during the week. And they're like,
you're a reserve deputy over here.
Correct. Yeah. Now, I was on the B team, but we still did some aerobatics down low. The guys that did the full show, so the A team, they would have a couple practice sessions, but it was, they're also rag IP during the week. And then, like one practice before a show and away they would go. I'm not saying that's how it shouldn't be done, but it's definitely not as focused. And I understand it because the Navy doesn't have the manpower, to have a designated, Raptor team, A-10 team, just like the Air Force does. So I don't think the Navy should change, but it does lend itself to a little more opportunity for mistakes. And, part of the fallout from the investigation from our accident that we had when I was on the team was the fact that, hey, you guys were doing maneuvers that really you didn't have a lot of training for, because we just basically pirated the Boeing Super Hornet demo.
Wow.
And so for us, it was the loaded roll, that they messed up, and they have since taken it out. I don't know if they put it back in, but yeah, that was kind of one of the fallout things that came out of it was like, hey, we better take this out because we're not, the Boeing guys, they train better for this. So I'm not knocking the way the Navy does it. I don't think they should change it. But like I said, it definitely lends itself to a little more chance for something to go wrong.
Yeah. Did you go through
yeah.
So like the demo team, there's a syllabus and then you have to perform it in front of COMAC. Is that same thing? Like your sign off as you've done it in front of an admiral somewhere and that's, you're good to go?
Not the admiral. You do it in front of, there was the skipper, and the Commodore. There's like a JO who's in charge of the demo team shop. He's out
Random
there.
agenda.
Yeah, no, not a random. He's on the team. And actually, dude, the guys they crashed the airplane on that check ride.
Oh, so that
Yeah.
was the final
That
show.
was their check
Jesus.
ride. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's like Skid said, man. You could be on your best day in the best airplane, and it can still get you,
But
right?
yeah, there by the grace of God go I. You
Right.
know, it's tough. You know, it's hard to see it. And then we've got from the audience, Thomas says, "I'm Polish. God
Yeah.
rest his soul." And that you know, I hate to say at the end of the day, but really, when this is all said and done, these are humans. These
Yep.
are real people. They have families. They have friends. There are people that are feeling the loss right now. So you know, our thoughts are with them because you know you never want to see that. It's just you know the difference is with airplanes, everybody knows about it. You know, it's not like when you know a car crash where maybe a local news or something like that. You know, when you crash a jet, it becomes a thing. So that's unfortunate because the family now has to relive it. You know, like you said, every time that air show comes around, and it's going to be anniversaries and stuff like that. But we do send our thoughts and prayers for those people.